Hey everyone, good morning. It's Vinod here from GrowWealth. Morning everyone. Let's look at the market analysis and the weekly watchlist performance last week and also the new names for the forthcoming week. Let me start to share the video for you, the screen share. Okay, hope the screen share works. Let me try that again, just in case if there was any issue. Right, so let's start with the overall index. Let me tidy up the screen a little bit. So this is S&P 500 on a daily. So as you can see, it closed gap up on Friday and very close to all-time high, really bullish. Looking at the weekly, same here. It's kind of giving a hammer symbol. So that's something to be watching for in terms of being cautious. It's, other than that, it's close to all-time high, which it can't get any bullish than that. NASDAQ, well, this has pulled, I'm sorry, this is the UK index. It's gone back a little bit. This is NASDAQ on the weekly. So NASDAQ, again, it's kind of trying to recover from the recent pullback, and it's kind of setting up since consolidating since February, which is a healthy sign because it's not then getting too heated. That might lead to a bigger crash. So it had a pullback on February to March, and then another from April to May, and the extent of pullback has reduced from Feb to March to April to May. And that shows that the volatility within the index is reducing, which again is a positive sign. It closed as a doji on the weekly, but again, it's closed positive 0.6%, which is relatively good than the negative one. So let's look at the daily chart, and as you can see, it's kind of setting up a mini consolidation phase for the last couple of weeks and trying to break out on Friday. A doji gap up above all the key moving indicators on the daily chart for NASDAQ is again bullish. So there is a resistance from this level back in February. That's the immediate resistance, and then the April resistance right there. After that, around 14,000, and the February one around 13,850. But again, this is bullish. Dow Jones Index, very similar to the S&P 500, close to all-time high. And let's look at the weekly for Dow Jones. Similar, gapped up last week, finished as doji's kind of hammer symbol. So if you just look at the candle on the weekly, it looks like an indecision or a warning sign because of the hammer symbol. So you can't ignore that in any of the indexes, but generally speaking, it's close to all-time high. So you have a long inclination or a bullish inclination towards the stock market. Okay. So the overall index is influenced by the bigger companies in the index. So you would also want to see how your stocks are performing in your portfolio. Sometimes they do vary. Those who have been pulled back quite a lot could recover and could give you a good result, good return, even if the index is kind of not doing very well, as proven in our last week's weekly watch list and also the week before, because we chose some of the new IPOs that's been kind of crashed after the IPO because of the unfavorable market condition. And the market condition slightly improved, those stocks really performed well. And you would see in the chart in the next few seconds about how our last week's performance has done. Let's move a little bit to the Russell 2000, the IWM. So it is also consolidating. Weekly chart might give you a better view on the consolidation. So it recovered nicely after the coronavirus crash, but since February again, it's going sideways. Yes, there's some volatile action, but if you look at the bigger picture, it's going sideways here. And it stays above the T line on the weekly, which is again is positive. So it's trying to recover as well. Bitcoin index, so it crashed and hasn't fully recovered. It's acting a little bit weak. The same for Ethereum as well. Now let's look at the performance of our last week's watch list. and also the stocks for the next week. So I hope you can see this photo of the screenshot of the tracker of last watch list. So we had Affirm, AI, Roblox, Olo, Upstart, Snowflake, and DoorDash for last week. You can see on the right-hand column the weekly performance for them. Okay, Olo and Upstart are clear winners, and almost all of them are performed really well, other than one or two negatives compared to the market, which is largely kind of closed, where it opened just 0.6 increase for the S&P 500. I have traded Affirm since the week before last, and I took the profit around 61, 62 level. I'll show in the graph why I did that. I continue to hold Roblox, Upstart, Snow as well. Okay, Roblox just entered last week. So the following week's watch list, there are some continuation. AI that has pulled back, that's previously pulled back and trying to come up now. So I kept it on the watch list for the forthcoming weeks. Keeping Roblox there, it's a new IPO, broke out and ran quite a lot. It's likely to consolidate around $100 mark a little bit. I should have put the stock prices here, I'm sorry. So it's similar to the current stock price, as you can see on the top of the chart. It will be the same one because the current stock price is where it finished on Friday. That will be the starting price for the watch list for next week. EH, which I'll show in the graph, Playboy, and I'm continuing with the Snowflake and DoorDash. I'm adding GLBE, that's Global E, again, new IPO and strong action recently. Okay, let's now go back to the graph, the stock charts. Right, so let me open up the individual stocks. Affirm. So let me do this. We bought it. I bought it somewhere here when it was recovering and coming back about the T line, and I noticed that the previous support here around 64 mark acted as a support there. When it broke down, it collapsed, and then it came back. It's likely to act as a resistance. There's also a 50 EMA coming up, close to where the previous support turned resistance. So when this red candle happened on Thursday, June the 3rd, I realized, okay, that is now acting as a resistance, and it's likely to come back to the T line or take at least a few days before it could recover if the market is favorable. So I took the profit off around 63, 62 level below this low, whereas at 62 level. So booked profits for that. AI. So AI has broken above this previous support, and this the resistance there. It broke above that and quickly ran past the 50 EMA and then pulled back a little bit. And I'm expecting, and I posted this before. So as expected, it's pulled back. It's likely to either find a support here or around that level a little bit higher, and then resume its uptrend again. So I kept it on the watch list for next week as well. The MACD continues to stay positive. Remember, the earnings are coming up on Monday, so it could go either way based on the earnings, but because it has crashed already, and the company, I believe, is doing really well, albeit as an early company in terms of public market, recently came as IPO in December. So they had 2 earnings as public company, the 3rd one coming on Monday. So my expectation is the earnings would be good and it goes up, but let's see how it goes. So I'm keeping it on our watch list for next week. Roblox, we had Roblox last week, and I'm continuing this week as well. So let me take this off a little bit so it's clean. Right. So new IPO is a video game company. Quite a lot of youngsters are fans of this and spends a lot of money, which means investors get that portion of it. So that's a breakout at this level and then quickly ran up quite a lot in just a few days, just a week and a bit. And it's now finding some kind of turbulence around 100 marks. So any psychological levels like 100, 200, is likely to see some profit taking. So that's what is happening here. It's what I would like to see is it does this and goes sideways for the moving averages to catch up, and it sets a base and then recovers. I have started at a starter position at 2/3, half of my usual position, and I'll be adding to it hopefully if it sets up a new base. So I'm keeping it for next week's watch list as well. So if you are not in this stock and would like to enter, so look for consolidation. So like a mini consolidation here, the 3-day consolidation broke out, but because of the 100 level mark, it's likely to come back around 95 level, looking at the candlestick pattern, but see what happens. And if it comes and goes, recovers, sometimes it can do it within a day, then you can enter in that case. I'm long-term bullish on this stock, so if you want to have a position for 2-3 years, maybe 3-4, 2-3 years, is a good span of time for this stock, but ideally 3 to 5 years for any stocks. I believe this will return quite a good return on this investment if you hold it for longer. Although this one has done exceptionally well, so there's this mini resistance there, and once it broke out, it never looked back. It just went like a rocket after that. So broke out around 30 mark, and then now it is at a 40 level, so nearly 33% within a matter of 7 days, 8 days. So great looking chart. It also broke out of that IPO base at 35, so really bullish, but I missed it because I was focusing on some of the other names. I took an eye off this. I was watching here, but then I took an eye off this despite putting it on the watch list. So I missed this move. But this is a great stock. So if you want to enter it, if it pulls back to the IPO base around 35, that's a great entry point. But this is really bullish. There's nothing to say that it won't go up consistently from here before it consolidating. But if it did consolidate, that can give us a new entry point. Because it moved up a little bit, I'm taking it out of our watch list, but the stock is really bullish. If you want to keep following it up on your watch list, please do so. Upstart. So next one. So this again is a new IPO, came public in December. There's a gap up on earnings, ran up 50% or more. I think gapped up nearly 100%, and then further 50% in 2 days. And then it took the subsequent 2 months to consolidate. And could you see where it kind of bottomed? At the previous gap up low. And that's what most stocks do. When it ran up really quickly, they usually kind of come back and retest that support, previous resistance, turn support for the gap ups, right? It did not fill the gap up here, and that is again a bullish sign. And this acted as a support and then recovered back to all-time high. And I think Motley Fool recommended the stock right here. The very next day it gapped up, and people started to book some profit. So this individual candle, the last one, is not great. It's the inverted hammer, and it usually happens when there's a reversal sign, but that is not a sell signal in itself. I'm positive on this stock. I have a long-term position on this one, so I will be holding it. It could kind of come back a little bit and find another base, but it is just trying to break out of this base. So if it were to run, I wouldn't be surprised. So I'm keeping it in the watch. Am I keeping it in the watch list? No, I'm not. I'm taking it out of the watch list, but I'm continuing to hold this. And this stock has returned about 10% in the last week with this move right here. It's quite a bit of a profit taking there. It might continue for another day or so before it resumes. Good one, great sector and great company to be invested in for another couple of years or so. Okay. Snowflake. Okay, so similar to the OLO, where it had a previous resistance and broke out, I'm watching for this one right here. There is a bit of a resistance there, and it is giving all the signs that it was going to break out of that resistance around 245. And if it breaks that, I expect it to test around 3. There's a mini resistance there, 265, and then 300 mark. And this can also be a very good company for long-term investment. But if you want to trade, we can aim for 245 to 260. If that breaks out, then to 300, 290 and 300 level mark is a good position to take some partial profits. And I'm keeping this in my watch list for the next week. The next one we had last week was Data. New IPO in December again. A lot of IPOs came in December because market was quite hot. And that also contributed to the pullback, I guess, because of the flood of IPO. And then it pulled back, it tried to recover a bit of bounce, and then pulled down even further, breaking below the IPO base and this base. So there's a three-way down, 1, 2, and 3. Now it is recovering and setting up a base. The earnings was good, and it had a gap up on earnings, moved 22%. And then another gap up here when it came, broke out of the 50-day EMA. Now it's coming and retested that 50-day previous breakout level and closed above the 50-day, but just below the T line. Let's look at the weekly. Right, so this level is now acting as a support right there. Support here, support there, and support here. I expect that in the next week or two, it probably would go up. And if it breaks above this level here, 155, then another uptrend will be resuming. So I'm keeping this in the watch list again for the following week. The new additions for the watch list is Global E, new IPO, as you can see, very new, just in May. And then it did not set up any base at all. It did not come lower than the IPO price. It just kept going and going and going every day until now. There's a mini consolidation here for 4 or 5 days and then broke out. There's another mini consolidation there. So there's a step-on-step approach. And it's closed at all-time high close in the last since it came public, which is positive. It had earnings and it was fantastic earnings. So it tried to pull back before the earnings because of the good earnings. It came up again and recovered all those losses. It's giving all the indications that a further uptrend is likely, but because it moved from IPO price of around starting at 24, now at 35, so it's nearly 50% more since the IPO opened. So it's not uncommon for it to either go sideways or pull back a little bit before it resumes. But this is a strong stock, great company, so it could go further. I have a small position on this. If it pulls back, not too much. If it pulls back around this level and sets up, I might like to add a little bit more. So this is a new addition to the watch list. And the next one is EHang Holdings. So many of you who's been members know these stocks, and I've discussed this kind of plummeting 62% in one of our monthly monthly members meeting as well, and how the stop loss had saved me from here. So this had gone a lot further down since then. So this is around what, 45, and it went all the way down to 2019, $19, and then it's now recovered with high volume last day on Friday, 20% increase, and closed above the key moving averages at 32.60, right? So it broke out of this consolidation phase here and this high as well. This is a support here, so it's sitting right at that previous support level, which may act as a resistance. But the current trend is kind of setting up a nice base here, like a cup-shaped base on the right-hand column. So that is positive. It could come back and retest the 50-day, which is at 29.41. That's about 8% below, 6-7% below, and then could go up. But this is on high volume. So on 4 hour. So last 4 hours, there was some profit taking. So it may come back to 31, maybe 31.50, 30.50 level, and then could go up again. So this has been added to our watch list as momentum stock. So that is it for the watch list. So let me share those photographs for you, the watch list names again to you. So we had a firm. I've taken profits. It's still a great company and stock to hold or to trade. But right now, because of the momentum of profit taking, I've taken it out. AI, Roblox, Olo, Upstart, Snow, and Dash. Great companies, all of them. Please monitor them if you like to be on it. I've added global E instead of affirm, and I've added EH instead of OLO, because OLO had run up a little bit, but fantastic chart OLO. If you're an inch well done for getting it, stay on it with some adequate stop loss management. Okay. So I've added Playboy. I haven't shared the chart with you. Let me do that quickly. PLBY. Right. So this is the Playboy group. I guess I don't have to share with you what Playboy does. There's the adult magazine company, right? So there's a big up move here from around $10 all the way up to 63. That's 6 times. 6 times in what? In about a year. 600%, that is. Yeah, not bad. And then it pulled back about 33%, 35%, along with the wider market. But then it's found some support around 40 level. So this came back to retest that, found some support, retested, found some support, and now it's moving up about the key moving averages. The 8 and 21 EMA have confluenced here. It never touched the 50 EMA. The MACD is still negative, but the volume is starting to come up a little bit, still below average, but it's above the down days here, right? And it's setting up a cup right here. So what's likely to happen if the market is going to act positively is this will act as a cup, and then it's likely to come and retest this previous resistance around $60 mark and then go up. So I've added this. You could buy it for trading above 47 level and then goes up. That's the hope. If you're buying this, the stop loss ideally should be below the previous support level around 40. So that gives you around what 10-15% stop loss. If you're trading quite actively, you could go below the low of Friday, which is around 43. So ideal kind of stop loss risk management level for short-term trading. Okay, that is it from the screen sharing point of view. Hope it made some sense, gave you some momentum stocks, and also really great companies and watch list, great companies, new IPOs for your watch list, not just for trading, but also for investing as well. There are real gems there. Hope you study those companies, their results and the charts, and take some actions. Hopefully, you will also be brave enough to take that initial step and then feel thankful about that you're taking that. All right. I see you in our next week watch list videos. Bye-bye.